So I've been continuing to work on this grisaille, the so-called dead layer, in this kind of 80s B movie looking poster thingy. Praying mantis attacking a city. And printed off some examples of these old ones here. And it started becoming interesting that this is really a dead, people used to pick out VHS tapes based upon the cover art. And this was probably a job a lot of painters had. So I guess when I'm revisiting it in these kind of pieces, it becomes this nostalgia piece. And thinking about nostalgia and the fact that nostalgia also means suffering, to revisit something that is in your past can often be painful because the past is gone and you have to come to terms with what is today. But I was also thinking about in the last video how I often use pseudonyms. But then I got to thinking that in reality, I'm not really using a pseudonym because pretty much everybody knows I'm making these other works. So for a pseudonym to truly be successful, you have to be like Stephen King, Richard Bachman, and his pseudonym, which was Richard Bachman, and was discovered by some publisher, actually. Some bookstore guy or some publisher recognized it. So anyway, I've been playing around with some other materials, and I got this pink one ready to roll. I got some pieces of wood. I want to make some more kind of sculptural pieces on these. And for this layer, I'm starting to realize that the drawing is going to be just more and more important as we continue with these types of paintings. So it's going to be really important to just get the drawing down really well in the beginning, because obviously this painting still has some drawing silliness, as you can see in the face. And they look probably more like this kind of crappy B-movie style in this ninja film, rather than these more like Hollywood style movies. I'm also noticing that no matter what, I kind of can't escape this whole sci-fi element of my work. Like this painting here is of a lunar cave, the Mars rover in a lunar cave. And, it's just something that's kind of present in all my work, is this space element. And of course, these big paintings are about technology and humans and the intersection between humans and technology and computers and humans and avatars and humans and all this sort of thing. And so a lot of my paintings really do have this sci-fi feel to them, I think. This one especially obviously looks kind of like a science fiction book cover. I think I even thought I had some here, but yeah, I checked out a book on Mars, and just looking at, these photos from the Mars rover, it's kind of like, can you do better than this? Do you even need to make a painting of it when everything is here already? The technology built into the machine that takes the photos, it's all there already. So I've been contemplating these things and also coming to the conclusion that I'm kind of a project-based artist. Just looking around the room, you can see I've got a lot of different things going on. These sculptures here, junk I got in the corner, like this piece of wood. I want to make something on this. Paint something on that. but also more my like tech stuff. So all in all, I'm kind of a, this weird sculpture thing, little person that freaks people out. So in a way, I'm kind of a project-based artist. And I think that's an important thing for me to realize as I move forward with my artistic practice, that I don't have to be nailed down to just one theme and one style like I was doing when I created these 100 different portraits. It's okay to bounce around, and I've bounced around a long time, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not focused. I just think it's an actual way of working, and certain things kind of bubble up and come to life after a while, and you start seeing similarities between, maybe these abstract works here and one of these kind of like dream dune buggy paintings over here, and the big portraits, so these things, they're gonna end up kind of being similar just because they're made by the same person. And I think that's something I'm gonna try to speak about more and explore more, looking at artists who made a lot of different types of work. For instance, Philip Guston's work is one that springs to mind really quickly. Somebody who created, started just as an abstract painter essentially, but also did these architectural paintings, and also did, of course, those kind of cartoonish figurative works. And Robert Rauschenberg is another guy who experimented with a lot of different things, with painting, with collage, with assemblage, and I think that's kind of where I'm going to place myself, really. I don't think I'm limited only to paint. I know I love paint, and I'm probably the best at working with paint, but I also enjoy, incorporating different elements into the work and experimenting with materials. So these are kind of interesting things to think about when you're creating a body of work. What does it mean to make a piece that is really disparate from something else? I know when I put all my work up at the end of the semester, there was a ton of different work, and there was like these cat paintings and the more kind of serious, so-called serious portrait technology type of things. And there was really like a lot of different things going on. But I don't see why, certain exhibitions can't be focused on just one theme. You can explore one theme. And, for instance, with these kind of B-movie poster paintings, that can just be a theme, and I can keep exploring that theme for the rest of my life. And I can also do these cartoony dune buggy paintings if I want to, and I can make these giant portraits if I want to. And there's no reason that I have to just do one thing. Common question would be, don't you think you're trying to do too much? And I'd answer that by saying that I feel like I should do more. That's what drives me, that's what drives my creativity, this constant urge to create and make things. So when you see this, piece of wood lying on the ground, you think, oh, I could use that to make something. And as we assemble these objects and assemble these things, we also start to realize that we're making objects that are going to be taken care of for a long time in many cases. And there's a certain responsibility that comes with that, but it also means that there's a playful aspect to creation, in that we're all creators and we're all creative people in our everyday lives. In a lot of different ways we can be creative. And even if it's something as simple as cleaning the house, and staying conscious of all these little micro things that we do every day. Staying conscious of, I've got to, follow this recipe to make this certain type of dish or this certain type of meal. I think a lot of that micro consciousness, micro awareness is what separates, you know, a lot of different artists, and those that are struggling and then those that are focused, is staying, you know, micro focused, having a micro consciousness or whatever you want to call it. Helps you stay aware of, okay, this piece could be about nostalgia, right? So I was 8 years old in 1986, and what does that mean to me to be creating these pieces? What do I value in a B-movie poster? You know, things I like about them are that they're funny, they're kind of silly, but they're also, a lot of these are painted really well, you know? So there's like a illustrative quality, and I know that illustration is often looked down upon, and I think that, you know, art can go in so many directions that if you need to be illustrative in certain areas, there's nothing wrong with it, you know? Be illustrative. I also moved my TV over here and my computer here so I can, instead of printing out stuff and looking at it, I can just bring it up on my computer screen and look at it there. So that's been kind of helpful just in my general setup that I've got going on here. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what I've been up to. Going into the future, I want to put some more, I'm going to go for the glazes. So the next step on this painting is, you know, I'm not considering this painting to be the best painting of all time, obviously. But it's also a good playground to just play with glazing and how to create these glazes and create these works, and what is an underpainting, what does a grisaille do, you know, how can you use it, and just manipulating the paint in certain ways to get these, you know, subtle blends on the praying mantis. Starts becoming more illustrative, obviously, than the splashiness in the portraits. But I like that tightness, and playing with that tightness, I think, can be a nice interplay